Hello to my online class. Since I don't really see you face to face, we are going to pretend that we're seeing each other right now. This is the beauty of online classes. Um, I would rather be in a seated class, but hey, we do what we gotta do, right? So, by now you guys have probably been wondering what is going to be your first assignment, and that is a spin case analysis. And we're going to talk a little bit about why spin case analysis are so important. Um, First, I think that most of you have probably, or you should have, finished the discussion post last night about the 80-20 theory. And that really just says that someone will spend 80% of their income on only 20% of their expenses. So what does that mean for a company? Well, that means they may have, 100 different expenses that they have to cover, but maybe only just a few of those are really just high-end things that they have to spend their money on. So let's take this into a personal example instead of it being for a business. So let's take everything that you pay for. Let's take, food, your car payment, insurance, your gas bill, your rent, your cell phone bill, all of these things that you have to pay for just in a regular, just being a human, especially in college. What is the mainly the two top things that you're going to pay for? Well, in my world, I don't know about yours. My class that is seated on this section, they actually said they spend a lot of money on food. I do too. But I spend most of my money on my house payment and my car payment. Now that I know that, that's my two biggest expenditures. Let's say that, I don't know, my house payment's $1,500. And let's say I have a really nice car. I have a Nissan, but let's say I have a truck. Let's say I have a really nice car and my payments are $600 a month. Now, let's say I just found out that all of a sudden that I'm not going to have a job in 6 months. Maybe my company's selling out, something's happening, but I'm going to have to find a way to cut my expenditures. The first two things I am probably going to look at are the biggest things that take my money. Well, that might mean that maybe I sell my house and just get a smaller place until I can, afford something a little better. Or maybe I go trade in my truck for a little economical car just because my gas is going to be cheaper, the maintenance is going to be cheaper, as well as the car payment's going to be cheaper. So that's one of the things that companies also do. They just do it kind of in a different way. They look at their expenditures, and they're definitely not things like we have to pay. Well, some of them probably are, but not all of them. So they look at their expenditures and they say, hey, how can we cut money here? Do we have too many suppliers here? What can we do to minimize costs in this category or this section? So that's really what a spin analysis is. But the main reason that I really want you to do this spin analysis exercise is because it really teaches you about pivot tables. And, sorry, I'm thirsty. Everything camper, you can see in my background, I like to camp. I have a vintage camper. We have a lot of fun. But as you can tell, pivot tables, if you've never worked with them, they are an absolute skill set when it comes to going into any kind of business. I don't care if it's supply chain, human resources, because finance, accounting, risk management, all those, CIS, you're always going to have some kind of data that you're going to have to look at, and you are going to have to do some kind of analysis. That's just the way it is. Even if your job title is not analyst, you're still going to have to probably do some kind of analysis in your careers. And really what a pivot table does is just makes your data easier to slice and dice. And I don't think there's a better way than this case study the spin analysis, to explain really how a pivot table works and why it's so important to have that skill set. So what I'm going to do is I am going to get on my screen and I'm going to show you guys where to get the data for the spin analysis and also the instructions. And I'm just going to go through some of the case for you guys so that way you can, I think you need to have a little bit of train of thought with pivot tables if you've never done them. If you've done them, that is great. Make sure that you somehow put that on your resume as including macros or anything like that you've done on Excel, because not all companies excuse me, not all companies can afford these big systems like SAS and, you know, all these, there's another one, Tableau. They can't always afford all these big analysis programs because some of these are like $1 million programs. This might be a small business where it's really up to you to look at that data. And the thing is, everybody has Excel. And you can do a really good bit of data crunch on Excel. Trust me, I've done it. I've also done it on big programs as well, and quite frankly, I like Excel better. It's more user-friendly. You can definitely find a lot of information on Google on if you get stuck on how to do things. Sometimes Google can be your friend. So I am just going to downsize myself. I'm still here in the corner. And I'm going to go to my As You Learn. And I want to show you guys where to find this information. So the biggest thing is go to week beginning 122, which was actually last week. And you can see here's the spin case analysis instructions. And I'm going to pull those up just so you kind of see what they look like. And we're going to go through step 1 together. So I'm just going to pull this to my other screen because that's really not what you need to see. And here's the spin case analysis data. So I actually created a data set of my own to do with you guys, to give you an example, because I didn't want to do your homework for you, right? I didn't want to do the assignment for you, but I really want you to know how to do these pivot tables, and at least get a basic understanding of them. And you know, you can always save this video, send it to yourself so you have the link, because when you get in the real world, you may need this video, how to kind of get started on one. So, let's start out. Let's read the instructions on the spin case analysis. So, you want to understand what the business spent its money on, so first look at the categories. And I cannot tell you what kind of business this is. I have no clue. But what I can tell you is it's a pretty good data set, and it's pretty cool. So let's look at what kind of categories we have here. So the only thing I have done thus far is I have went over to the data tab and I have clicked filter. And what that does is give me a nice little filter where I can do all kinds of things. So if I just want to look at awards and recognitions, I would click on this, and then I would hit awards and recognition. So I can see all of those. That's a lot. I don't have those kind of awards. Okay, so let's go back. I want to see everything. But I want to sort this from A to Z, just to get a basic understanding of what kind of data we're looking at. Okay, so once I push that, I can kind of scroll down, see what we have, benefits, services. We have a lot of stuff on here, car rental, event management. We have a lot of things on here that we can definitely work with in our pivot tables. So, now that we've kind of looked at it, the first thing that is asking is, from a category sort, find the total spend per year by category. So basically what that's asking me to do is calculate the sum of annual spend by category. Okay, so if I were to do this the old way, which we're not going to do because that takes a lot of time. If we were to do this the old way, I would say, okay, here's one category, and there's all my data. So how much is it for the annual spend? Well, if I highlight this, there's this neat little thing down here that tells me the sum is $971, and the count is 4. But I would have to do that to all of them. No, that would take forever. Let's not do that. I don't have that much time. You don't have that much time. And I'm going to show you something really cool. So, since we want to, again, calculate the sum of the annual spend by category, I am going to use a pivot table because pivot tables are awesome. The first thing that I'm going to do is highlight any data that I want to work with. Okay? So I'm going to highlight A through C, and then I'm going to go to Insert. And there where it says Pivot Table, I'm going to hit Pivot Table. Now this is only asking me, hey, are you sure that's the range of data that you want to mess with? Yes, I'm absolutely sure. And do you want this on a new worksheet? I actually do because I think it's easier to work with pivot tables on a separate worksheet so that you don't get confused on what you're doing. Okay. So, and I have to say, the data that I have is not your data. It is your data, but I actually chopped it in half to just get a short understanding of some of the categories and to be able to show you again without doing your actual assignment for you. All right. So calculate the sum of annual spend by category. So now I know that I need category and I know that I need annual spend. Those are the two fields that I'm working with. So I'm going to hit category. And I love how I just click it. It throws it down here into my rows. And here I have all of the categories that I need, which is awesome. So next I need annual spend. So I'm going to click it. And oh, this was awesome. It threw it down here into the values because it recognizes these are numbers. And it's already given me the sum, which is really cool. Now, if I needed something besides the sum, I could click on that and I could go to Value Field Settings. This is where I can do sum, account, average, min, max, product. There's several things here. Standard deviations, variation. There's all kinds of things that we can do here. But right now, I want the sum of the annual spend. So I click OK. So technically, you look at this and I have all the categories and the sum of the total spend over here. But the next thing says, hey, I want the top 10 categories that I'm spending money on. Well, why would I want the top 10? Well, I need to see what my big expenditures are so that I know where to target to decrease my expenditures for that and save myself some money, especially if I'm trying to take, $400,000 off my $1 million budget. So, I want to sort this. So what I'm going to do, and what I'm really wanting to sort is the annual spend. I want from largest to smallest so that I can see what I'm spending money on. So I'm going to click in one of these cells. It doesn't matter where you click. And I'm going to right click on that. From here you're going to see sort. That can be your best friend. And I'm going to sort from largest to smallest. And boom, there. I've got it all right there. These are my biggest categories. This is what I'm spending money on. But I'm going to take this a step further. Basically because you need to for your manager, and I'll explain. But also the instructions tell you to. So, I've already identified what my top expenditures are. I've put them in this pivot table. I have them nicely in a little row. But do you really think your manager is going to want to see all of that? Probably not. He's not a data analyst. but you are. That's your job. He asked you to do it. He only wants to know the top 10 things that are costing him money, because those top 10 things are what he is going to focus on to save that money. So, what am I going to do? Well, I'm going to go down and I'm going to make a chart, just like your instructions say. So, I'm going to make a chart of the top 10 expenditures, and that's really all he wants to see. He doesn't have time to look at, however many suppliers we have, which, if you wanted to know that, by the way, or categories we had, we can absolutely do this. Highlight it all. Here's all of them highlighted. We have 59. Okay. That's just a side note. Anyway. But he doesn't want to see all this. He only wants to see the top 10. Those are the ones he's going to focus on. So I think if I go down to contract labor, I think that's my 10th one. Only because I've done this already one time today. And it is, how do I know that? Right here is my count 10. So I know right here is my 10 top categories and expenditures. Okay. So now that I have that highlighted, I'm going to highlight the titles as well, just so it knows when I make the graph what it's kind of looking at. So now that I have that highlighted, I'm going to right click and I'm going to copy. Now this is where you can absolutely put this on a different sheet. Totally up to you. I'm going to put it on this sheet because it's just a little bit easier for me to do. Because we're going to be working with whenever you do it, you may want to do it on a different one, because there's a couple of different charts that you're going to make for me. But just for my purposes, to make it quicker, I'm just going to do it on this one. So now that I've copied, I am going to go back and paste as values. The reason why I paste as values is because, especially if you're working with different data on different spreadsheets, sometimes data can absolutely have things attached to it that you don't know it's there. For example, it can be comma delimited. It can also have extra zeros in there that you don't know that's in there. Extra spaces. It all causes trouble when you're trying to manipulate data. And so I just like to copy it as a numerical number, especially if I'm working with numbers to begin with. I want them to be a number. I'm going to paste it as a number. It just makes your data just a little bit cleaner. Okay, so now I'm going to put this in dollars just so that, number one, I know that it's dollars. That's what I'm working with. And so that whenever I also make the chart, it knows it's dollars as well. Okay, so now we're going to make a chart with the top 10 expenditures. So I'm going to highlight the data that I need. Sweet tea, nectar of life. All right, so I'm going to highlight the top 10 expenditures, and then I'm going to make my chart. They're highlighted. Here I'm going to go to Insert. And you can hit Recommended Charts if you want. That's fine. But for my purposes, I want a bar chart because it's easier to read. You don't want to make it super complicated. I don't know if y'all have ever heard of the KISS method, but it's called Keep It Simple Stupid. We've used that a lot. And people enjoy just looking at a simple chart and just getting the information they need quickly without having to try to figure out a chart. Okay, so now I'm just going to hit Insert a Column or Bar Chart. And it's not going to do anything. Okay, interesting. Let's try that again. Oh, there we go. Sorry about that. So whenever I clicked on that, I have it highlighted. Bar chart. So I'm just going to click this. You can do a 3D. I don't care. I think those look pretty cool. You can do a regular one. Either way, this one I did a 3D just because, I don't know, they're pretty. And you can go in here, and this is total spend by category. So that way I know exactly what this chart is. And so will your boss. It's really important to be able to communicate not only through emails and all this stuff, but you really need to be able to communicate your data. You need to be able to explain what it is. Because had I not put that on there and you send that to me, I have no earthly idea what that is. I may know because I asked you to do it, but why should I just maybe know? You need to make it where your managers do know. Okay? So now, technically, this is number 1. Okay? Number 2 is kind of similar. It's a little bit different information that it's asking, but I'm going to let you guys do that for yourself because I want you to learn this. This is absolutely a great way to be able to know how to do these pivot tables. I think this assignment, it also forces you to look at your expenditures as a company. And that's really important too, not only in your business, but in your personal life as well. One day you may be in a situation where you have to cut some expenditures. It's not fun, but you'll kind of know how to do it. So, again, this is a spend analysis case. Just wanted to go through it with you really quickly. And thank you for nerding out with me doing the pivot tables. I think they're super cool. I hope that you do too. I think it probably takes a special kind of person to say that. But that's okay. Anyway, so I want everybody to have a really good day. And this is actually not due. I'm not going to put a date on here because I'm probably going to use this video over again. But look in your Agile Learn for the due date. And always, if you ever need any help, please come to me. I can, help you in the office, or we can set up a Zoom meeting, anything you need. So anyway, have a good day, and we'll see you later.